Let's speak now to Professor Ruth-Teer Tomaselli, royal family expert on today's proceedings. Thank you very much, Prof, for availing yourself this afternoon. So as we understand it, this was a TV first because cameras had never captured this moment ever in history, and we are being told that this is because of a directive given by the new king. What should this signal, especially about his leadership going forward?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me this afternoon. And I think that the clip that you've just showed is very enlightening. Of course, this is what he has done now in Scotland, and this refers specifically to the Church of Scotland. But there will be a similar kind of ceremony that involves the Church of England, which will come later in the week. So I think that is what's really important, is that it underlines two things. And the first thing is that this is a very media-savvy person. This is a person of the 21st century, and he is continuing in some ways what has happened before with his mother, the late Queen, to bring the idea of royalty and the monarch into the 21st century. Well, she did it in the 20th century as well, and to modernize the entire situation. And the second one is that it appears that he is very keen on doing a double act, on maintaining tradition, as you heard all those traditional words and all those very legalistic words, but also doing it in a way that makes it current and realistic. So I think that it is going to be different. I think that the two things that we're going to see are continuity and change intertwined with each other.
Speaking of continuity and change, this seemingly seamless transition of power, is it within the history of the British royal family?
Absolutely. What happens is that when one monarch dies, another monarch immediately takes over the reins and becomes the king or queen immediately. So it's if you read the histories, it's almost it's like, it sounds a little cold. You know, the king is dead, then God save the king. So the two just happen one after the other. Or in this particular instance, it's a little easier to understand because the queen is dead and God save the king. So it's absolutely seamless. But after that, there's a whole series of unfolding steps that will happen where the process is formalized. So what we saw last week, we saw the new king give a speech from Buckingham Palace, and then from there we have this ceremony this morning, then another one, and then we're going to end up with the coronation itself, which will be a huge razzmatazz, will be a hugely ceremonious jubilee, and that will be quite joyful. So at the moment, what you're seeing now is very much tinged in the period of mourning. It's literally a kind of a way of saying everything is under control. There's no interregnum. Remember, there was only one interregnum in royal monarchy for the last century. I mean, not century, millennium, and that was at the beheading of this king's namesake, King Charles I, who found that he was on the wrong side of Parliament. So again, constitutionally, it's very important. He's really stressing his constitutional role, which is a very limited role, a role of a figurehead, a role of a well-placed symbolic head that holds everything together. So he is the front face of a constitution. He is not the lawmakers themselves.
The Accession Council today was attended by privy councillors. What are those?
I'm not a constitutional expert, but the privy councillors would be the people who are actually putting together the entire system. So in the constitutional monarchy, you have the privy councillors are those that are in the first realm of, as it were, the first ring of the connection between the royal setup and the parliament.
Mm-hmm. And the gun salutes that they've been observing, one for each year of her 96 years of life. What to understand about that?
Well, gun salutes are often used as a way of commemorating, symbolically commemorating any event. So a similar situation happened with the tolling of Big Ben, for instance. So there were one toll for 1 year and one shot for 1 year. And that often happens not only for the passing of royalty, but also at state funerals, at military funerals. You may not have one shot for every year, but you would have a number of shots, which would be very symbolic of a particular way or a particular aspect that is being recorded.
When the crowds cheer "God Save the King," essentially, what are they marking?
They're marking the ascension of a new monarch, of a new period that has continually been reinforced. And God Save the King isn't really only about a particular person. It stands for, just as the king stands for a set of constitutional arrangements, so does God Save the King stand for those whole constitutional arrangements. So that the national anthem of Britain, for instance, is God Save the King or God Save the Queen. We haven't come to some sort of a gender-neutral solution here as yet. But that's an important way of pulling together that kind of national fervor. So it's a national salute.
Thank you very much to Professor Ruth-Teer Tomaselli, Royal Family Expert.